Clippy converted Clippy here. Man here. I'm sorry. I just keep getting messages from Clippies. It's very annoying. I shouldn't have made that video, but I did. Anyways, let's talk about God, because that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, logic and God. That's what this channel's about. Anyways, this guy doesn't prove anything. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I don't see any logic in that argument.
You want me to run the argument for you?
Yeah, run the argument for us.
If you want.
Okay, so change exists.
All right, change exists. Got it. Okay, cool. I agree. Change exists. All right.
And by change, we mean the actualization of potential.
The actualization of potential. Well, what the hell does that mean? So this is a Thomian, how do you say the philosophy? Let me see. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. Let's see. Aquinas had ideas about this, and let's see who else. Let's see who came up with this, or is it? Oh, Thomistic first way, right? Arcelian Thomistic first way. So the actual, what it is to what it's going to be. Okay. So you're alive, you're going to be dead. So the fact that you will change from alive to dead is somehow going to be proof of God, right? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree? You could just.
All right. Now okay, so it's not about agreement or disagreement. There's no fallacy there. So yes, that premise is fine. Change occurs, and by change, you mean the actualization of potential. Okay, granted. Premise one is change occurs. Okay, moving on. I'm not going to, I'm going to kind of skip around this video because the atheist interlocutor is not doing very good, but that's okay,
I haven't even said anything. You don't.
Yeah, like I said, he
Presupposition. Is it a presupposition that change exists?
I don't know. It could be. All right, so change exists, and he says, okay. Let's see. Something goes to what it could be to what it actually is. Okay, that's the part I wanted to focus on.
Realization of potential. So that things go from, what that means is that something goes from what it could be to what it actually is. Like
okay, so it could be alive to what it actually is dead. So you could actually be dead, but you're not. You're right now, you're alive. So then what is the change being made there? See, that's the problem with this sort of fancy schmancy language, is it's so vague and weird and confusing. It's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, that's what we were all supposed to be, is dead? So it doesn't make any sense.
Pot of water could be hot, and then that's different from when it's...
Yeah, a pot of water could also be cold or no temperature at all. So any change there is what it is to what it could be, and that, I don't know.
It's actually hot. When it goes from what it potentially could be to what it actually is, that's what we know is change.
Okay, so what it could be to what it actually is. So when it changes from water to hot water, that's what it actually is now. Now it's hot water. So when you're dead, that's what it actually is, and changing to that state is what it could have been.
So change exists. Do you agree?
Yes, change exists. Okay. And then let's go. Okay. So potential can't actualize itself is the next premise. But before we get there, the actualization of potential. Okay. For example, atoms decay. So the decay series of uranium 238, it ends in a stable lead 206 after multiple alpha and beta decays. So uranium is what it is, and then it can become lead, or no, it was always going to be lead. No, now it's lead, but it was changing into that. But there was nothing from outside that was causing that change. It was all internal change due to physics and how things work, and is it actualizing its own potential by itself. There's nothing else acting upon it, right? So it's just decaying because that's just what it does. So given that, how do you negate that idea? Because the idea is that potential can't actualize itself without an external cause. That's what this argument's trying to go for, right? But in physics, potential is actualized by internal dynamics and probabilistic laws without any external agent in that chain whatsoever. Nothing needed to cause uranium to decay. It just does decay. So then this whole argument dies due to atomic theory. And also, now the original argument that Thomas gave and all that, I already covered that. And that, things in motion has to start from somewhere. And well, gravity, everything has gravity. So everything is, in a sense, always in motion. And so you don't need an external stimuli to get things going because you have it built into the thing itself because mass has gravity. And that's just what it is. But it gets worse for the apologist because he has at least two different things that negate the entire argument already, but it gets worse when we get to the conclusion.
Okay, but a potential can't actualize itself.
So, wrong. It can, because again, the atom decays on its own. So it's actualizing itself.
So whatever changes is actualized by something else. So like a pot of water that's potential.
Okay, the water needs heat. Okay, great. But again, that's that's one example. And I have a counterexample. Atom, the atom of uranium. Uranium, was it 238? There you go. That decays eventually into lead. So we didn't need anything for that. Didn't need God for that to happen.
Actually hot can't actually make itself hot because it doesn't have that. But something that's already actual, like fire or a stove, something that's already hot, needs to move it from potential to actual.
I mean, that's a very low resolution understanding of heat exchange, but okay, sure. But it doesn't matter because it's already negated.
Potential can't actualize itself.
Yes, it can. No, it doesn't make sense, and it's wrong.
I guess.
Okay. This leads to a chain of actualizers where each thing depends on its actualization here and now.
Okay. And with uranium, what would that be? What actualizes uranium to become lead? So, it just falls apart under minimal scrutiny.
But this chain of actualizers is impossible to be infinite.
They love to say this as if it's true. How do you know it's impossible for it to be infinite? How do you know that? You can't just say that. You need to prove that. You need to demonstrate that. You need an argument for it. But but that is just stated as if it's true without any argument. That's called a bald assertion. And so we have another fallacy.
Therefore, it must be finite and terminate in a first.
Okay. Sure. If you say so, you didn't prove any of that. But okay, so there's a first thing that started things, except for, of course, uranium, because it doesn't need that, but whatever.
And the first cause is God.
So the first actualizer would not have any potential.
All right, the first actualizer doesn't have any potential. It's unlike the other things that do need potential because special pleading, which is where I said that this gets even worse when you get to the conclusion.
Or it would be purely actual, which is what we mean by God.
All right, what you mean by God. And that's the final nail in this coffin of this version of the change argument for motion, argument for change, is what you mean by God is purely a definitional proposition. You are trying to prove God exists. You're trying to prove that there is a God. You've defined God as X, but you have not demonstrated that God is X. You've defined God as how you have decided to define it, and you slotted that in as your conclusion without justifying that being the actual thing that God is. So you still haven't proven God. You haven't argued for God. You haven't anything for God. Because we don't need God to actualize change. We do need external stimuli for many things, but not for everything. Does a cell really need external stimuli to divide? No, not exactly. It might need energy or food. Maybe, what about the sun? Does that need external things to keep going? Or is it just doing what it's doing because it's doing what it's doing? And then God, of course, is the exception to the rule of everything else. It is just what it is. It doesn't change. But if God, of course, doesn't change, that means it's static. And it could not do anything at all because you have to be able to change to decide to do anything at all, or to move, or to function as an actual entity. So you've defined God out of existence if you say that God can't change. But it doesn't matter because you haven't shown that God is a thing in the first place. So you didn't prove anything, and the label of this video is so incoherent. Atheist church leader loses his cool. This guy is an atheist church leader? I don't know about that. Where are you getting that from? It doesn't sound like he loses his cool to me. It sounds like he just doesn't buy into this broken argument. Now, the caller doesn't know how to break down the argument logically like I did, or the science that would negate it outright, which now you guys and girls and robots out there know. Gravity and or atomic theory. Those negate the Thomistic ideal that potential can't actualize itself without an external cause. Both of those. Gravity does, and atomic theory does. So we don't need God for those things. That's how things are. And it's funny how little we need God for anything when you actually think about it. And the philosophical arguments are not proof. They are arguments. And because they have fallacies, we can't trust the conclusion. And so we should be skeptical of the conclusion. Now, that doesn't tell us that God doesn't exist, but it does tell us that they don't have good arguments. Now, why don't they have good arguments? Well, possibly because the arguments haven't been updated for centuries, or, and I think it's more likely, the arguments for God fail because God is not anything other than a concept that we invented. We can't demonstrate it's more than that, and the arguments want to do that and can't. You can't argue for something that isn't an actual thing. The logic fails. The more we understand science, the more we understand logic, the better it is that we will do as an individual and as a species. And the apologists recycle the same broken arguments because they have nothing new to offer at all. And then the thing says, why aren't you a Christian? Why would I be? I already was one. It wasn't true There was no truth to it. The handful of cities and kings that can be confirmed aren't enough for the rest of the Bible to be considered true or worthwhile or logical or anything of that nature. So Elijah didn't prove anything. All right, that's it. That's all we've got. James Apperson in chat. Oh my God. Yeah. He smiled at me. And he smiled at me. I don't what is that song? I don't even know what that song is. All right, that's it for now. That's it for now. Yes, that's it for now. I'm done for now. If I find another video to complain about that will take me longer, then I'll do that. But this one is a quick one. So until next time, be skeptical. And after next time, stay skeptical. And maybe one of these days I'll interview James. Who knows? I'm trying to set up another interview with another person. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. No idea. Don't know what I'm going to do. But I definitely am never going to talk about Clippy again. But I do want to encourage others to do it so that they have to deal with the insanity that I did. So make a video about Clippy. I dare you. Yes, make a video about Clippy. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, don't worry. All right. Nah, see ya. Yeah, James says, we'll see. Lols. All right. That's it. All right, I'm done. All right.